Welcome to the West Indian Women Network. I am Priscilla Ramcharan here in the United States, originally from Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, you know our network is to showcase our Caribbean family near and far. So, for our recent event, Tell Yuh Story, Unleash the Stories. We are here with the first and second place winner and People's Choice winner. So we're so excited to speak to these ladies and hear all about their experience for our first annual Tell Your Story. So our first place contestant, please introduce yourself and tell us where you're from.
Hi, everyone. Hi to Priscilla. Hi to Linette. I am Carlana Tasha Neverson. I'm from the beautiful island of Trinidad and Tobago. I am 44 years old. I am a singer, songwriter, poet, voiceover actor, and now I could call myself a story writer. Yes, thank you.
Awesome.
And I have been composing songs and poetry since I was about 15 to 16 years old. Kind of put it on the back burner for a little while, and then when I was in my 40s, as I am now, the desire came back up, and I was so thankful for that, and I've been running with it ever since.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to you. We're so happy to have you participate and
Thank
hear
you.
your work. You're welcome. And our second place winner, can you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Thank you, Priscilla. And of course, big shout out to Carlana. I'm Linette Rapsat, coming from the Virgin Islands. I live on the beautiful island of Tortola. I've been writing since 1996. I started when I was at the University of the Virgin Islands, and I've continued to write since then. I have about probably over 800 pieces, whether it's haikus, free verse, tankas, different types of writing. And of course, dabbling a little bit more into short stories. I love drabbles, but I really enjoyed the Tell Your Story competition. And
Awesome.
yes, and full time, my day job is a human resources manager for the government of the Virgin Islands, but I am also an avid gardener. So if you check me out on social media, it's two things for sure that you know that I share. It's my poems and my garden.
Yes, your garden is lovely for sure. Well, congratulations to you too. Both of you really made the event possible, and we appreciate you so much. And we were really floored at the level of creativity that night from our Caribbean counterparts. So I want to start with Carlana. Carlana, tell us about your piece, what inspired you, and how you felt when you delivered your piece.
My inspiration comes from God, as I told you prior, and that's it, God all the way. I was sitting in my living room when I heard the name Duvu Boo, and I was like, what? Then I said, wait, I could make it a little more funny, and I could add another boo to the end. So I came up with Duvu Boo Boo. So that was my main character in my story. After that, I probably had about 2 lines, and then I was like, okay, I'll go at it again. But prior to getting that character's name in my head, my motivation came from yours truly, Priscilla. Yes, and thank you for encouraging me. You were like, yes, Pilani, you could do it. And I was like, no.
You
And
did it.
immediately, yes, and immediately I ran with it, and I am so thankful that I did. The second part of the question was what, Priscilla?
How did you feel delivering your piece?
Right. So delivering the piece, oh my gosh, I felt good because rehearsing, I was laughing. You know, my daughter and I, we were just laughing, and she was watching me like, wow, that kind of thing. So I was really proud of me, not to sound too conceited or anything, but it was like, Kalani, you're good. you know, that kind of thing. So I felt good delivering my piece.
Self-celebration is okay. You are your
Hey,
biggest
yes,
cheerleader, right? Awesome. So you felt confident
yes,
towards
of
the end.
course. Confident, yes.
That was wonderful. Well, we couldn't tell, right, Linette? You looked amazing in your delivery because that was one of the categories that we judged was delivery. So just so you
Yeah.
know, yeah, so you have a good facade.
Thank you.
Awesome. And what about
Wow.
you, Linette? Tell us about your piece and how you felt delivering to our wonderful audience.
Well, my piece was a paltry poultry tale. And this story came because of all the different chickens that literally visit my yard. And when I was working at the Department of Agriculture, there was this one particular wonderful employee, and she would make jokes and call the chickens Eglantina and things like
Mm,
Henrietta. And, that came back to me, and I said, you know what? I'm going to name these chickens and just create a story, a love story, a hate story, a confusion story, the Caribbean story
all the
about how,
spices.
yes, how they interact and, who's messing around with who and, the different types of banter. And I
Hmm.
really enjoyed sharing it that evening. The biggest challenge for me was trying to get it cut down to fit within the 4-minute slot and
Mm,
still not leave out the details because I wanted to be able to do the different voices. I wanted to be able to, still have like that very good description so you could know, well, okay, Eglantina was this color, Henrietta was this color, and all the little history behind them.
the
But
description. Hmm.
yes, but what really inspired this, well, for me to enter the competition, it was shared by one of my HR colleagues. And I was like, yes, I'm going to do this. And at one point I had submitted something to Gavin Luke,
Uh-huh.
a more detailed version of everything that happened with those chickens. And then to
Oh.
try to compress all of that into about 300 words to deliver on that evening, it was a challenge, but I enjoyed every minute of it.
Awesome. And you really did. You were like, Pete, is it 3 minutes, 4 minutes? What's going on? I'm timing. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my goodness, we really stressed these contestants out with the minutes. But if you notice, some people didn't care about the time. They kept going.
Yes, yes, yes.
But you both did wonderfully. We were timing. And so the other judge is like, good, on time.
Thank you.
So you did really
Thank you.
well pacing yourself, delivery. I mean, of course, because you wouldn't be first and second place in People's Choice if you didn't. So you really wowed everybody. And the stories were so entertaining. You can imagine what was happening, which is the whole point of writing a story and delivering a
Yes.
story is to communicate to your audience. So you really did wonderfully. Is there anything else you want to share about the competition itself, about your experience, or even thinking about signing up? The actual act of opening the document and saying, all right, I'm going to sign myself up. What was that feeling like? And either one, if you want to start with Carlana, we can. Okay.
Okay, so again, Priscilla, because I really didn't want to because of fear, I think,
Mm.
I
Mm-hmm.
never attempt to pen a story before. But then again, when you encouraged me, I said, you know what? It was like really like last minute. But I said, no, I'm going to do it. So when I saw the putting your name and everything, and I said, you know what? This is excitement. So
Nice.
I filled out my form and I was good to go.
Yes, you were. That's wonderful. Linette, do I dare ask you? You're always up for participating.
I definitely am. I love especially engaging with other Caribbean artists because
Mhm.
most of the readings that I attend, because I do a lot of online poetry readings, it's mostly with people in the US or the UK. So the opportunity to really interact with other Caribbean creatives is just an amazing experience. And I love performing. I love recording myself. I love sharing, because I really think that for each of us who have the talent, it's it's within us, and we should share it. It makes no sense to say that you're going to write all these poems and you keep them to yourself. You really should be using your words to inspire the world to do better. And I think that poets and musicians, we have a key role in that,
Yes.
ensuring that, we really inspire people to do better and, encourage them. So yeah, I was like, a story. What am I gonna do? And then it just came together. But I love the opportunity, and I would encourage anyone, don't be fearful. I find that we tend to have this spirit of fear, and we need to break that. As Carlana said, you start with God, pray. And even if you make a mistake, it's okay. You had to start somewhere. Stephen Curry didn't get great in one day. Look at his progress. Look at Michael Jordan. There's so many people that we could list. Marshall Montano. He started off being great immediately. He had to hone his craft. So you have to put the energy into your work and get feedback. And that's where lovely people like Gavin and Priscilla come in, because they encourage us and they inspire us to step out the box. I just wanted to say thank you once again, Priscilla, for providing this opportunity, and shout out to Gavin.
Woohoo! Shout out to Gavin. Absolutely. You're most welcome. And obviously, he and I are very passionate about helping you all to showcase your work and putting your work out there to be recognized, to really encourage you to understand how creative you are. And I think, even if you make a mistake, no one will know. And sometimes you can turn those mistakes into a happy accident. So that's really where it is. It's just about you making that decision. And really well said, Linette. I mean, honestly, if you want to do anything at all, practicing, refining, learning about your craft, you're so, so right about that. So I really am so happy to talk to both of you. And I really hope that you sign up for Read Your Ting in November, which I'll tell you all about after. Oh, yes. And the prizes are getting bigger and better. So, Carlana, do you have a question for Linette as a, partner in the creative world?
Oh, yes, I do. So, Linette, my question to you today is, what emotions do you feel while penning your story, and how do you cope throughout the process?
When penning my story or even a poem, I usually start with a basic concept, or sometimes it's just a first line. It could be a verse from a song, it could be a verse from the Bible, it could be a conversation like what we're having today. And then I try to hone in. I usually listen to a lot of music in the background, but I try to hone in and then develop from that first line and build it out. Sometimes there is writer's block, but what I've found has worked for me, especially with the poetry, is using a lot of prompts that I find in the Facebook groups. Because sometimes you're like, okay, I want to write something, but you don't know what to write about. So they share a lot of pictures. Sometimes they write just one line for you to start. And then that's where I would build from there. For the drabbles and the short stories, sometimes they share pictures. So that's how I have my collection of drabbles. But specifically for the poultry tale, it was really just looking at those chickens and thinking, what kind of conversations do they really have? And then trying to build a narrative that I think, people would be able to relate to. Because one of my friends was like, did you write that based on somebody's relationship? I said, no, it's just me observing the big rooster and watching him flit around from hen to hen. And all the colors of the different chicks tell you that, okay, they've been very happy chickens. But, coping and trying to write with stress, it could be difficult, but my main thing is music, or I go out in my garden and, look at the beautiful mangoes or pigeon peas and just relax myself, and I center, and then I'm able to write. But of course, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. So it's kind of natural for me. It's kind of easy. And sometimes even when I get a prompt, I don't even write on the prompt properly. I'm like, what did I say? That has nothing to do with the photo, but it may capture some aspect. It's just how the inspiration might come.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Just letting the
Very well.
inspiration come. Great question, Carlana. An excellent
Thank you,
response.
and thank you, Linette.
Wonderful. So, Linette, do you have a question for Carlana?
Yes, Carlana, like I was saying before with the with the Tell Your Story, we had this strict time limit. What did you do to be able to be so perfect within that time limit?
All right. So I have my timekeeper, I would call her, my daughter.
Oh,
So when I start, she would have the timer on. She would say, Mommy, you need to add something, or Mommy, you need to cut out something. So it's practice. And with her help, of course, I am able to be within the time because I don't want to go over. I don't want to go over at all. So that's basically it, Lynette. Practicing over and over.
exactly. Well said. And I want to thank you both for really adhering to that 3 to 4 minute
Yeah.
time frame. I mean, it is a challenge, but it's also good to be able to play with your words and move things around so that it can work, which also challenges your creative abilities.
Yes.
So I really appreciate that you stuck to the rules for sure.
You're welcome.
Awesome. That's really awesome. Thank you. Yes. All right. So I am going to put the link to our Tell Yuh Story event in the description box so you can really understand the stories that we heard from not only Carlana and Linette, but all of our other contestants and share the fun we had. And we do have our Reading 3 coming up in November. And I think, Carlana, you participated in that.
Of course I did.
And how did you do?
I came third and I got people's choice. People's choice.
Congratulations on that too.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
if Linette, are you planning to participate?
Well, I think it would be honorable to come back and defend the title. So yes,
Right.
I will definitely participate.
Good one.
So tell us about what happened to you in Reading.
Yes, I was the winner. I was shocked. I know everybody saw my reaction like, really? Oh my God.
It was good.
We are making history, ladies.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. So we have our first place for Tell Yuh Story, and we have our first place for Read Your Ting, who's going to come back in November. Oh my goodness. So this is so wonderful. Do either of you have any final messages?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I wanted to say something too. So the next day I wrote a story. After the day the woman spoke, I wrote a story. I was inspired to
Even
write another story,
more.
and I did. Yes.
Congrats to you. Well, we can't wait to hear it.
Okay.
Yes, there's a famous quote. I can't remember if it's Maya Angelou, and she says, you can never run out of words. The more you write, the more comes to you. So
Yes.
if I'm wrong, I'll correct that, but I believe that's who it is.
That's what it says. Nice.
Woohoo. Yes. So congratulations to both of you. Keep writing, share it with me. I'm always here for you both, whatever you need, your opinions, my opinions, and we'll keep going, and do invite other creatives to challenge you at our contest.
Yes.
And anything, Linette, before we go?
Yes, definitely. Like I said, once again, just to say thank you for the platform and giving us opportunities to share our work. And my encouragement continues and will always be, invest in what grows you. If you want to play basketball, you got to get on the court. If you want to write, you either need to get a very good pen and a book, or you need to get a laptop, a tablet, but you have to invest in what grows you. And it will take you far. Use your talent and inspire the world with your words, your work, your art, whatever it is.
Well, yes, absolutely. And I believe it was Carlana that said, she started with 2 sentences. So a sentence a day, 2 sentences a day, and you never know. That inspiration will flow. And that's what we're here to do, is to encourage our Caribbean creatives to keep going, sharing your work. And thank you
Yes.
both, really honestly. I have to thank you both for making this possible and for being here today to talk about your experience.
You are welcome.
Woo-hoo! I'll see you soon. Be good and say bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye.